Okay, good morning. We're into day two, and we're going to go over some of the key principles that we're going to really try to ingrain into what we do, as well as how to easily keep track of these throughout the week. We all don't need another thing to do, but we do have to put a little bit of effort into this, and eventually we probably won't have to think about some of these things. But you also might find that it's fun to just start to develop this habit of keeping score in a way that it helps you know that you're on track. This is incredibly helpful for me with some habits that I have. And I really I'll emphasize, like, keep this list short. Feel free to modify this as you see fit. I would try to stick to the 5 I have on here as close as possible, but feel free to add one, feel free to take one off, and feel free to kind of make it your own in a way that works for you. That's very important. Make it work for you. So let me just go into these a little bit. Whole foods, number one. Very simple, not a package, one ingredient. So for me, if I eat eggs in the morning, an avocado, blueberries, banana, those are all one ingredient. That's a whole meal for me. And I like to think of this for myself through a day. If I can get two out of 3 meals as like no processed food, no packages, then that's my target. Another way to think about this I've seen recently is to think about 800 grams of fruit and vegetables in a day. And that way, you're not tracking all the other macronutrients, how much fat's in here, how many carbohydrates, how much protein necessarily. We will talk about protein later. But just knowing that you're getting the fruits and vegetables, which the benefit to that and the reason for that is fiber. Our diets are not, most people do not get nearly enough fiber in their diet. So if you hit those 800 grams of vegetables, fruits, can also be beans, that's going to give you fiber. It's going to give you a diverse diet. Lots of benefits there that a lot of people speak to. So that's the whole foods one. Keep it simple. 2 out of 3 meals for me is a win. You could also track your fruits and vegetables if there's another way that makes sense to you. But the key thing here, especially if weight is one of the things that you want to cut down, if you want to really lose weight I don't like fast weight loss, but if that's something you really have a goal for yourself in the short term, eating whole foods is going to make a huge difference. So this would be a very important one. It's also probably one of the hardest ones, which we'll talk about later, just because it's of convenience and just the way things are set up around us. The next one is protein first. So eat your protein first at your meal. For some people, this might not be an issue, but if you're someone that likes to, eat all the French fries or eat the other things on your plate first, and that means you then don't eat the protein, that's what we're trying to avoid. We want to make sure that you're getting 30 to 50 grams of protein at a meal. Again, a lot of things that we can talk about here. I won't go into them now, but if nothing else, if you eat protein first, protein does not store as fat, and it's going to help us build muscle. We have to have protein in our diets. We have to have those building blocks if we're going to get stronger. So again, it's tons we can speak to here, but getting that protein first is going to be important. And the third one, and this is just about how we eat, is when we go to eat, sitting down, no distractions. So not scrolling on the phone, not watching this video, not watching TV, but really just eating to eat. And part of what this is just listening to ourselves when we become full. If we have a distraction, if we have something like going on in the background, we can just eat and eat and eat, probably beyond the point where we actually need it to. So among the other benefits you might get from actually slowing down and just more mindfully eating, we can also pay attention to when we start to feel full or when we start to feel not hungry anymore, which will also really help us self-regulate to how much we need to eat at each meal without having to worry about, oh my God, how many calories are on my plate? Let me add them all up and make sure I'm in the right number. If we just stop and slow down and listen to when our bodies are telling us, like, I feel satisfied right now, that's when we stop eating. So sit down, no distractions, take the 10 minutes, give yourself that little bit of a gift. It's easy not to do it. I do it all the time. Just kind of in a rush, grabbing food on the go, let me scarf this food down. But it's such a nice pause in the day. And we have several meals scheduled throughout the day, meals with family especially. Taking that as a gift, like forget all the body composition, all those goals, like just having that quality time with yourself or with people you're sharing the meal with, that can be incredibly changing to so many things. So whole foods, eat the protein first. 30 to 50 grams is what we're going to target per meal which again is not always going to be easy, but we'll talk about ways to work with that. And then this idea of just like slowing down. When we eat, and we're not doing something else. The other two habits, this one is incredibly powerful, and it's also very easy, but just taking a walk after every meal. The goal would be about 10 minutes, but you could break this up. If you've only got 5 minutes, 5 minutes is better than 0. You could then take a longer walk later in the day. After dinner, you could take a 20-minute walk. So this does a ton to help regulate blood sugar. So if you're thinking about diabetes and all those types of things, this simple act of walking after each meal is tremendously beneficial. And I would argue that it's even more beneficial than doing a lot of walking throughout the day, a one big or one long walk, jog, run. You're like, okay, well, I got my 30 or I got my hour of walking in, and then not walking after each meal. It'd be better to break your walking up into 3 10-minute blocks, or 2 20-minute blocks, or however that works out where you can actually fit it into your day. But just start walking and moving after you eat. And that could be the only game changer that you get out of this. And it will work. It will definitely work. It'll make you healthier. It'll help some of the blood sugar spikes go down. You won't necessarily get that afternoon just crash effect from food. And again, it's another way to connect with people. So if you've got someone you can walk with after a meal, after lunch, a coworker or family members in the evening, like there's a whole nother piece to that, which we're going to continue to talk about. But that can also be another added bonus of taking that time to walk after we eat. And then the last one is we really want to aim for at least 2 times a week of strength training and conditioning. And we're gonna get into this much more in the next week, but it doesn't have to be going to the gym for an hour 3 times a week or 4 times a week. It doesn't have to be something every day, although we do want to find movement practices we can incorporate every day. But this idea of 2 times a week, and this can be 10 or 15 minutes, short as that, of just dedicated, focused strength work. We'll talk about how to do that, but the whole idea here that I would like to share today is that this can be very, very small. What's going to matter is the consistency of it week after week after week. So if you can start to think about, for now, where can I carve even 15 minutes 2 times a week? So that's what I'm asking for here is 30 minutes minimum, 15 minutes twice a week. We can start with that and we can build from that, and you can get very dramatic results from just that 15 minutes twice a week. So that's what that goal is going to be around, is can I get that in throughout the week? More can be better, but if you're starting from 0, more can be scary. 15 minutes might be scary. So let's just start to think about how can we build that in to our schedule and make it a priority, just like these other things. So as you go through this, the top half of this is really just more of a movement tracker. So anything that you're doing throughout the day, think about just writing it down. Again, don't worry about getting so detailed with it, but if I went for a walk with the dog in the morning, I write down a 5 or 10-minute walk. I did some push-ups in the morning, I write down push-ups. I go for a walk after lunch in the PM block, I write walk after lunch, 10 minutes. If I worked outside in the garden or did something that was kind of like active, I would put that in there. If I did a weight training session or I went for a jog, I'd put that in there. So this is just ways to start to think about how many times throughout the day can I just start to move. And this can be, again, something that's as little as 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Could be stretching, could be doing some yoga for a few minutes. But getting those things built in throughout the day is going to be far more effective than just, okay, I've got this 1 hour I'm going to build in 2 times a week, and I'm just going to, that's my movement and I'm doing good. We're going to talk about how important it is to build these things in throughout the week, throughout the day, and in these small doses. You go out and jump rope for 2 minutes. You do that every day. 2 minutes of squats every day, 2 minutes of jumping rope, 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of whatever it is. If you do that every day, the numbers, they get huge. So that's really the idea of the movement tracker, is that we want to start thinking about movement not as this all or nothing, not as something that we have to fit into our schedule, which inevitably falls apart, even for the best of us. I've been traveling the last week and a half. My movement schedule is very different. So I'm just trying to find little ways I can fit it in. I'm out of my routine. There's so many things that are different right now. And I know that's okay. I can still get 5 minutes in here, 10 minutes on there of something. So that's enough. And I can and I know that. And I want you guys to know that it's not this all or nothing. So that's how we're going to use the top half of this sheet, is really just starting to think about movement as where we can start to stack these wins 2 minutes at a time, 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time. And they add up, I promise you, they add up at the end of a week, at the end of a month, and think about that, at the end of a year, if we've got these things that we just start to become part of what we do. And that's the goal, is that over the next 2 months, we track these things, we get them going, we get some traction, and this will carry on, whatever those practices are, and they might even evolve as we go, but they will carry on with you, for months and months and hopefully years and years to come. So that's how I want to use this sheet. We've got the tracker at top, track our movement, be intentional with it, do something, even if it's 2 minutes. Even if it's 2 minutes, I promise you that is better than nothing, and it will start to build some momentum. And then at the bottom, we've got these core habits. So play with those, make them your own. Feel free to change them even as we go a bit. You'll start to see what's working and what's not. And we can talk about how ways to maybe kind of dial those in a little bit more specifically for whatever makes sense to you. And then how even to think about, okay, how do I know if this is a win or not? But again, the whole point is to keep it very, very simple. So those are the habits. If you have questions, please reach out to me, share it with the group. We're all in this together. Like I said, we've got to all, we all have this community to support each other, and it will ultimately make us all stronger. It will make us all better if we take advantage of that. So that's for today. I went on very long, but this was really kind of the nuts and bolts of where we're starting. So I hope I gave you enough information. Thank you for listening, and looking forward to what's next.